I love that blouse.
Ah, and what a great way to start the broadcast. Loving my blouse. We're on
Are we
camera now.
live? Oh, great.
We're live. Hi, I am so excited today to have Marla Mattenson, a relationship. Yes, hi, Marla. And she's a relationship and intimacy expert who works with entrepreneurial couples. And today we're going to talk about writing. And I've been thinking about this a lot, Marla. How would you say that writing, I'm going to ask you some questions, what you think about it. How would you say writing is like being in a relationship with a couple? Do you see any parallels?
Oh, yeah, of course. Sure. Yeah, I love that. That's interesting how writing is like a relationship, with another human. Well, I mean, I can talk about my relationship to writing, which has been, I kind of hide out. I pretend like I don't see you. I don't see what's going on, very much in a space of, like a push pull, the whole passive aggressive, I really want to write, but then I don't. And, kind of like come closer, no, go a little further away. It's, my relationship with writing has been, I'd say, slightly unhealthy if it was an actual relationship with a lover, because the lover wouldn't know what I wanted. Do you want to write or do you not want to write? Right? Do you want to get closer or do you not want to get closer? Are you going to put the pen to the paper or are you not going to put the pen to the paper? Right? And yeah, that's actually a really interesting connection there, because I would never be in relationship with another human the way that I have been in the past in relationship with my writing, because it's almost cruel,
Talk about that. How is being in relationship with your writing like that cruel?
It's it's like there was no consistency for a long, long time. There was no, like, my writing couldn't depend on me. It couldn't say, okay, I know every day we're going to be able to do this, or we're going to progress, or, I would ghost. I was the ultimate ghoster for my writing. And that kind of a relationship can't sustain itself. All of the things, I never sent any sexy pictures or anything to it, but maybe that would have helped.
Showing your writing some love if you'd sent it some sexy pictures.
Right, exactly.
Well, most of how, and what you're talking about is dating. So I love this, writing like dating. I love metaphors anyway, because I believe how we do one thing is how we do everything. So by you connecting this to relationships, it's really interesting. And what I hear you talking about is, and I'm sure it's marriage too, but just to talk about this for a minute, the dating side of things. You're talking about ghosting and some of these things. Hi, we do have a viewer. Yay. I can't see who it is. Yes, hello. Maybe if you do come and visit us, just put your name in the
yes, please.
Comments. Well, what I'm hearing, it's so writing is like dating. You date writing. You were dating writing. How did your upbringing influence how you were dating in real life and dating your writing?
Wow. Well, okay, let me separate those. So in my household, I really felt like I was never allowed to develop my skills as a writer, not because anybody in my household was telling me that I couldn't. It was an unspoken agreement that whatever my sister was doing in the family was sort of off limits for me, and whatever I was doing in the family was sort of off limits for her. And the reason was, in our house, this wasn't true, but it felt like there wasn't enough love to go around. There wasn't enough for both of us to receive completely. And so we sort of siphoned off, this is my thing, and don't encroach on it. And it was all unspoken. There was never any, if if you ask anyone from my family is that if that was true or not, they could easily say that's not true because nobody ever spoke those words aloud. But the undercurrent underneath everything was don't encroach on my area of desire, my area of mastery, my area of what I want to be doing. And so what I would do is I would just sort of write in private and in secret. And I used writing as a very private experience. And I never really shared it with anyone until not that long ago, really. Maybe just a couple of years ago, I started sharing more and more of my writing. And obviously, I've been in a writing class with you for the last 5 years or so. And so I've been sharing in there. But again, that's a very private, confidential group where we can share intimately and vulnerably in there. And still, it was very much in secret.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is there was a person in your family that was designated to be the writer.
Right.
And you didn't want to take away from her being the star in that realm.
Yeah. And really, I wanted her to love me. I wanted her to love me. And so I didn't, and she did love me, but I didn't want to upset her in any way or add any suffering to her life by somehow becoming also a writer in the family. And I also had a lot of self-criticism about my writing, and I didn't think it was any good, and I really thought, who even cares? I'm better at just having a conversation with someone, because that's sort of the role that I took in my family. Was I was the social one and Lori was the intellect, which as if she wasn't social and I had no intellect, right? But those were sort of the roles that we took on. And I think it's taken both of us a long, long time to, be able to expand into being a full human. Like, I don't need to siphon off part of myself somewhere else and cut that off just to save someone's feelings in some way, which is all a projection anyway, because she's actually been one of my greatest champions for writing. She for many years felt like I'm a great writer. She helped me with writing. She helped me with all kinds of, self-esteem issues around writing and encouraged me. It was all in my head that I was not allowed to be a writer. She was, like I said, she was one of my biggest champions. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally hear. Hey, Vicki, I'm so glad you're here. I sent you the link and you got here, and I'm really happy to see you. And this is Marla. We're talking about writing and our relationship to writing. So any questions you have, anything, please chime in.
Where are you projecting this, Kelly?
We're projecting it on the Artist Way page.
Artist Way. Okay. I'm going to see if I can
and
get it.
More Fun Writing pages.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. I want to see if I can share it on my page. All right. Keep going.
Cool. So we're talking, we've gotten into this dialogue about how writing, you have a relationship with writing that is similar to the relationship that you have with the intimate people in your life, to dating, to the man that you're married to. So that's where we've gone with this very quickly.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. So when we talk about this now as an entrepreneur and someone who's now needing to be visible. Hi, Maria Tover. You know Marla. Hi. We're glad you're here. As someone who's now very visible, and how did you change that relationship with writing to a healthier, less toxic one? Or how are you in the process of doing that?
Well, I think, it started actually in a class that we were in, that I was in of yours, that called Vision Quest, which was so fun. We all had a project to complete by the end of the course, and then share it out with the class. And what I did was I wrote a best-selling book that was on Oprah's bestsellers list, and and her book club and everything. And what I did was I made a book cover and I put it around some other book, and then I wrote one excerpt from the book, and then I read that out loud for the group, and people laughed. the good kind of laugh. Like they laughed at the right time. Right? They weren't just laughing at me. They laughed at the right spots. And it was the first time I really experienced someone, anyone responding to my writing in a really positive way, that it made me think, oh, maybe I have something here. And so then, you know, I got that feedback that I have something to say. And then it still took me, you know, 5 years of writing in secret and in private to feel even remotely comfortable to share out even more. And then I went to a publicity event for my business, Unfair Advantage in New York. And I said, you know, one of the things that he asks us to do is to stand up and say, you know, who are you? What do you do? And what do you need help with? And it just got straight channeled from source. I said, I want a relationship column in a traditional magazine, a traditional business magazine. And Entrepreneur was my first choice. And he said, done, have a seat. And then the next few months was the process of actually getting that to happen. And then I did. I had a relationship column in entrepreneur.com. And I learned a lot about writing and you know, that the whole process. But I was able to take my desire for writing and really channel it into my desire to be of service and to share. And so I feel like all of my writing now, it's more than just writing to write. It's always in service of sharing more of my message and more of the work that I do in the world, so that people can come out of their challenges and their negativity and they can live more loving, intimate, vulnerable lives together in love and in business. Because, you know, the writing that I just do when I'm, you know, just journaling or whatever, it still comes out as service. So really everything that flows through me is either going deeper into my own vulnerability of something that happened in my past, or, and then that leads to a story that I can share with my, with the people who like to read what I'm writing.
Yeah, I think you've just led right into what Vicki was saying, which is, how do you get around being vulnerable in front of other people? How do you feel being vulnerable helps you build your brand? And does the level of vulnerability differ depending on who your reader is?
Oh, those are great questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the vulnerability piece has been really challenging for me because I'm an incredibly private person, and yet I work very deeply and intimately with individuals and couples. And so privately, I share a lot. You know, I share a lot about my private life with my clients under the confidentiality agreements that we have, right? And it's always in service of their growth. So I only tell a story about my life as it relates to something that they're working on. Now, what we're talking about here is the bigger world at large. And so what I've done is, and Julian, my business love and life partner, he has helped me with this in a really big way, which is every time I write something that's vulnerable and before I share it out with the world, he helps me get into a place of non-attachment. And he helps me say things like, I'm not going to use any feedback from this piece of writing to either feed my ego or to make myself feel bad. And so everybody's allowed to have their opinion about what I write. Everybody's allowed to take it in any way they need to for their greatest learning and their greatest good, even if it means attacking me. I'm okay with that because it's not about me. If somebody tries to attack me for my writing, that's okay. That's not about me. That's about them. And so to really, before I press post or send, or, you know, before I send something off, I release it. And it's like, oh, there you go. You're off into the world. And now you have your own energetics and may you be of service. And that's basically how I internally deal with the vulnerability that goes with sharing all of this. Because if you post something vulnerable on Facebook, let's say, or on Instagram, and then you're watching like a hawk, who liked it? Would they comment? You know, don't do that. Go to lunch, go for a hike, go for a walk. Don't even look at any of that until you're in a really good, peaceful place where you're detached. And then you go back and you look. and you comment and you're appreciative and everything. But you do it with a place of a little bit of detachment, because remember, everybody's opinions, even if it's fabulous, is not about you. It's just what's flowing through you. And this is something also that I think I've gotten pretty good at, is the information that's flowing through me is not mine. It's coming from God. It's coming from source. It's coming from spirit. It's coming from the universal energetics of, coming through me. I just happen to be the vessel. And I'm a very strong believer in that. And, I think all the great works of our lifetime have come through source, through particular vessels that are willing to say yes to that. And I'm finally willing to say yes to that.
Oh, thank you. And Vicki says that's really interesting and a great approach. Thank you. I agree. And Maria knows this too. And the whole thing with me, in terms of what I learned about writing, was how do you get out of the way so you can allow the water,
yes,
what's really not about you to come through you. I mean, most of us are blocking it again and again.
Yes. So, gosh, I'm rereading Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. And chapter 11 is the chapter on the mystery of sex transmutation. Okay. And it's basically talking about how to use the emotion of sex instead of in a physical way to channel it into genius. Okay. And so it's not actually about sex. It's about channeling the energy of that into genius. And let me see if I can find it really quick. But basically, it answers that question, which is
passion, right? Or passion.
Yes.
You have to find your. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes. And basically, I don't know if I'll find it quick enough, but basically what they say here is that they close their eyes. So when someone is trying to get into the flow, they take, oh man, here we go. Okay. All right. When Dr. Gates desired to draw upon the forces available to him through his creative imagination, he would go into this room, seat himself at the table, shut off the lights, and concentrate upon the known factors of the invention, or the known factors of what you want to write about, okay? On which he was working, remaining in that position until ideas began to flash into his mind in connection with the unknown factors of the invention. And I don't know if you're getting this, but it's like if you close your eyes and you focus on what you want to talk about, like any one topic, like, leaving your towels on the floor in the bathroom, okay, for relationship issues, or, how entrepreneurs are stressed about money, or whatever your topic is that you want to write about. And you focus on that. And then you say, I'm open to receiving a more full picture of how this could be of service. And you just sit quietly and you wait for inspiration. And if you don't like sitting and closing your eyes, go for a long walk. Go, put on some music, and then that doesn't have any words, and listen to the music and get yourself into the flow, and then start thinking about it. And so I really just loved, I was just reading that yesterday. And the idea,
what we do in the improv writing classes is I say, focus on this and start writing everything that comes up. And then it's amazing in that pressure cooker of focus and knowing that you're going to share it later, what will come up, things that are totally surprising. And that's just flow. Yeah, I got to get to this before the end of this interview, because when you were talking about relationship, I think the most interesting thing, could be where I'm at, came up was about prosperity and abundance. Because we were talking about dating, and when you date with the idea that it has to be one person, or you're blocking all this stuff from coming. It's what we do with writing. We get stingy with ourselves. Somewhat. Can you talk about that? Because you've been very prosperous with this new business. And I know you've been teaching people about this. And I think writing and prosperity and relationships, again, are all connected. So what, too complicated? or can we go with it? Go there.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I've been doing this work for a long, long time, and it's my relationship with writing has, how do I want to say it? You know, living the abundant life that I have now and that I've been immersed in for deeply in the last 3 years, actually longer than that, but in any case, um, clearing out old things that I'm tolerating about myself has been a big piece. And one of the things I've been tolerating is having a very volatile relationship with writing. And it's like how I have my inner world of excuses and, oh, it's more important to go do this than write, or, to sleep in a little longer because I deserve it, or, something other than just sticking with the commitment of writing has, as you know, has been a really big challenge for me.
Partnering.
And say that again?
Partnering.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I have been in an adversarial relationship with writing, and it still comes up. It still comes up. I am not healed from this. This is something that still arises for me, and that I make a conscious choice to be kind to myself and to be kind to the writing, because so much wants to flow through me. And so one of the things that I do that helps me is, because I'm a better speaker than I am a writer in terms of when I get into resistance, I can talk about anything any day of the week. But writing, I need a little more peace and quiet and space, etc. I have more rules and guidelines around writing. So instead of not writing at all, sometimes I'll speak into my phone and I'll take memos, and then I'll send those to my transcriber and have him transcribe them for me, and then I can edit them. And so that's one way that I have bypassed the negative relationship I had with writing. And so now it's just about really having the commitment to write on a daily basis. And so what I did was I hired somebody to help me. I hired somebody to help me stay vigilant on writing for a particular purpose. And that is something that is incredibly helpful. That's something that you do and you've done for me for years, is to be a mentor to help, with the consistency, because that's the big issue. It's like, if you work out once a month, you're probably not going to get much better or at what physically, in terms of your strength and your flexibility. But if you work out every day, just gently, even like a long walk, you do something every day or 5 days a week, you're going to get stronger, more healthy, and all of that. So you're literally changing your relationship.
Doing that 5 days a week. So in other words, like if you're just in flow 5 days a week with writing, that's one place to be with your writing and relationship with it. You're like just dating. And then as you get more and more focused on what you want and more committed to it, the more I'm finding I focus in on what I want to write, I can direct the flow toward that thing, which is why I like improv, because improv writing, we have a focus. It's like a cup holding the water, or a lake bed holding the water, however much you have. So, yeah.
Oh, also, another thing that I've been doing is, because I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but as soon as I sit down to write, I'm like, I don't know what to write. And so I've been keeping a running list now in my phone as a note to say, all of the topics that I can write about. So when I get inspiration out in my regular everyday life, I go to my note in my phone and I go, ooh, yeah, write about that. Write about the self-love thing while you were hiking, or write about this thing. And so I now have a list of topics so that I never have that excuse anymore. So basically what I'm doing is every excuse that arises for me, I'm addressing immediately, creating a solution for it, and moving that out of the way. So every excuse that I come up with, and I'm really sophisticated and great at coming up with excuses, and they're really good. Nobody could logic me out of any of those excuses, but I'm smart enough to know how to negate my own excuses. And so, that's basically how I handle it.
Cool. Well, I want to end on this one, because I think we've talked about everything we said about being seen and being willing, and that's where the real reason we're not writing. I think what made me think of having you on and talking to you about this with other people is I've watched you get more and more vulnerable, and you shared a story recently about you and your mate that's going on right now. And the reaction to that was huge by people who follow you. And it was different kinds of reactions. And, you know, Vicky's question about how do you get vulnerable, I thought this, and then you'll let me know what you thought. I thought, wow, I've watched you like climb the mountain of getting vulnerable. We didn't drop you off on top of Mount Everest of vulnerability. You've been doing it in small steps and getting seen more and more, being more, you know, not one or the other, but as you go. Can you talk about that a little bit? And
yeah. So that post, that's the shower post, right? That you're talking about.
Mhm.
The shower incident. Yeah, anybody, you can go onto my page and take a look at that. Basically, when we had a blowout, you know, we had a blowout argument, and I knew that if I wrote about it and I posted about it, that there would be some healing for me, for Julian, and for others. And I made a commitment at the beginning of 2019 to share more vulnerably on social media and to share more of the behind the scenes. And so because of that, you know, of course, so we had a fight. And so because of that fight, I thought, well, here we go. This is the time to do it. And so I decided to share about it, and I wrote about it, and it flowed right out of me. And honestly, because of my experience in the writing class with you, I knew how to use different techniques to enhance the actual story, which is using dialogue, using metaphor, using more of the sensation of, you know, the five senses and the who, what, why, when, where, how, you know, and what does it feel like, and what does it taste like, and what does it sound like, and what does it look like. And you know, doing that work for so many years has allowed me to it's now just a natural part of my writing, where I naturally use metaphor. I even use it sometimes when I'm just talking, because it helps to explain a story more fully and more completely when they can just relate to it. You know, I mean, if you're sitting in the floor of the shower sobbing, you know, it's that's one piece. But if you do go back and you read the whole piece, you really get moved through the whole thing. And I reread it and cried, you know, because it's really vulnerable to share the truth of what's going on when I don't look so good, you know, when it's sharing the real behind the scenes. And I'm happy to do that because, you know, I don't want anybody putting me on a pedestal. That's not what I'm aiming for in any way, shape, or form. Every time somebody tries to do that, I just kick it right out. And I'll tell them a story about how horrible I am because, you know, because I just don't want anybody to think that we have some perfect life over here. You know, what we do have is we have the desire to live a growth-based life where we take however long we're going to spend in an argument, and we shorten that amount of time, and we take the intensity and the nastiness and we lessen that. And so instead of thinking we're going to have some perfect life, it's no, let's work through this together in collaboration. And so that's the foundation of our work together. But that also now is coming through in my writing, is collaboration. And how am I collaborating with the reader? How am I allowing the reader to go with me on this journey where they want to participate? They want to see how it relates to their own life. And so I think that that's the joy of writing and the joy of reading too.
Yeah, and that goes back to the metaphor of using writing to get into relationship with yourself, recovering a more healthy relationship with that. And as you do it there, as you do it in your relationship with your lover or husband, wife, it goes back and forth because you're developing a better relationship with yourself. And that shows through in the writing. Vicki asks, she said, I start writing and then I start getting other topics flowing into my head. What's the best way to decide what to write about first? And she's talking about when she writes on her LinkedIn articles or blogs. And yeah, so if you, that's a perfect question.
I love that. You know what I do? I have two notebooks or pieces of paper at the same time. So I like to write just on like regular paper. And so what I do is when another topic, here I am, I'm analog. I love paper and pen. So when when another topic comes into my head, I put it on another piece of paper. I don't get distracted by that topic. I write it down on the side so that I go, ooh, that's a good juicy one, and then back to what I'm doing. I don't go off on that. I just make a couple bullet points, and then that's the next LinkedIn article or blog. And so it's actually a really creative way, because when you're right, when you open the floodgates, it starts flowing in, and then you know, it's true, when you are working on an article, a particular article, you need to stay focused on that article. So, but don't cut it out, because you want to put it off to the side and work on that another time.
Okay, I'm going back to dating. I dated a lot of guys that last 6 months.
Does
so we're
Russ know about this?
And I remember we talked about this because I decided I was the bachelorette, and I went on to all the online apps. So I had a date or two a week. And the way that I said, well, what am I supposed to do, Marla, when I think a guy is maybe? And she said, say yes to it. And if it was a no, I took it off. So that was one way that I got more and more focused on what I wanted. And I think that's the same as writing. You know, you have to write a lot and then find out what you specifically want to write about, until that day that Russ stood, sat across from me, and I thought, And then we got more and more focused in that relationship, which is like a book.
Yes. Yes.
Because now I'm so interested in that topic of Russ that I got married. And that's like a book. I think when you write a book, it's and Vicki, you know this because you just finished your book about tools. What is your book again? Tools for people working in the business place, the creative toolbox or something. Anyway, if you are still there, if you could write that up.
Yeah.
And she said, got it. Thanks.
I see Vicki wrote, so you don't change your mind and change the direction. Just so you know, like when you're writing an article for LinkedIn or Entrepreneur or, something, you want to have bullet points, and then you want to expand on your bullet points. So you want to have the flow of, what your main topic is. What is the outcome that the reader is going to receive from reading this article? Any article that gets published, the publishers and the editors want to know what's the outcome that's going to happen from this article. What's the takeaway here? And so you want to have a great headline, you want to have a great sub-headline, and then you want to have bullet points that you then expand on. So that's just just Vicki, for you, that's a little extra little piece, because when you're writing for LinkedIn or you're writing an article for an actual publication, you want to have some structure to it. And then, I don't change the direction of the article. I put something off to the side, and then I'll write about that one. Yeah. What is her thing? The leadership toolbox, 14 strategies that build a change reaction of success. Oh,
yeah.
Really cool.
And that's going to be coming out soon. So definitely want to have.
Let us know.
Here. Yeah. So, gosh, any other questions? I see some other people have joined us, or Vicki, if you have any other questions, and thank you for sharing what your book is all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that info, Vicki.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah. Actually, I have an article coming out this week on entrepreneur.com about relationships for entrepreneurs in business together, So definitely check that out. Maybe I'll post it here when it goes live.
I would love that. I would love if you do that. I am so glad that you're on the show. Marla and I have known each other for about 12, 13 years. And it's so wonderful having, we have front row seats to each other's transformation as we go along through writing and relationships and all of that. Lori O'Brien says, do you teach?
I teach entrepreneurs in relationship how to increase their passion and their profits. So I work with entrepreneur couples on their relationship and their business. I do not teach writing. I am a student of writing. I am a student of writing. I am a student of Kelly Morgan. And so, yeah, so Kelly is the whiz that helps me. And honestly, I just want to say, and I've said this before to you privately and in small groups, but I want to just say that I'm incredibly and eternally grateful for you and your teaching. And you are one of the most gentle, most kind guides when working with this vulnerability of writing. And, you know, it's been a struggle for me for many, many years. And I finally have broken through something so recently, really, honestly, just in the last year and this year. And so anybody who's thinking about writing or feeling really vulnerable about it, like, Kelly is the person. You're the one. So I hope that everybody signs up for whatever you're selling, whatever you're offering, because you hold space for the vulnerability to come through like nobody else I've ever worked with.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And I would say the same about you and working with entrepreneurs and relationship. I wouldn't trust anyone else but you.
It's a love fest.
Huh?
It's a love fest.
Yeah, love fest. But that's what relationships are all about. You find people that, and I think if we think of the person who's going to be reading our story, we talk about relationship, and you think about who's going to read your article and you have love for them. And that's why you're sharing what you're sharing. Yeah. It's not about helping them. It's about love. And I fell in love with writing. And I'm loving watching you fall in love with it. And it, like you said, it's been a push-pull.
I love that you're saying that, Kelly, that I'm just getting something on a deeper level. It's like, I've allowed myself to fall in love with my life, you know, and obviously I'm in love with Julian and Zoe, his daughter, you know, and I'm ready to fall in love with writing, you know, and it's still scary. I just want everybody to know it's not like I've arrived at all. It's still a process, you know, just like relationship, you're always growing and learning something new. And, you know, you don't want it to get stale. So, you know, I'm a big fan of continued education and continuing to learn and grow. And even if you're already a great writer, maybe you're having a little dip in your writing. Well, go take a class with Kelly. You know, she's got this amazing online class, and it's incredible to be in a group of people who are dedicated to working through their writing. So I'm going to fall in love with writing. That's what I'm going to do.
I see you doing it already. It's like when I was dating to find Russ or to find my mate, it's like watching you now fall in love with writing. It's been a long time coming, as it was a long time coming for me to settle down into it. Tell people where they can find you. Isn't it marlamattenson.com, which your name is up on the screen there?
Yes, marlamattenson.com. And on Facebook, Marla Mattenson. On Instagram, it's The Intimacy Experts. So it's me and Julian together on Instagram, and LinkedIn, Twitter, all that good stuff is Marla Mattenson. So yeah, definitely come and find me, and I'd be happy to interact at all. You know, I love social media. It's one of the greatest ways that we get to share what's really going on, you know, and share our material out in the world. So if you like what I'm all about and what I'm doing in the world, definitely send love and let me know. Send me a private message. I'd love to connect.
Yes, and the same for me. You can find me if you want to be in a writing group. It's More Fun Writing, and I'd love to hear what it is that you'd like to do with your writing. And then my website is www.creativelife.com. And that's it. I think we did it. Any last, Vicki says, thanks, I'll check it out. And any last questions? I'm so glad. Oh my gosh, 13 comments and people showing up. And thank you so much for supporting us and supporting this broadcast. Thank you very much. Okay, anything else? Are we done?
I think that's it. We're good.
Hard to say goodbye.
I know. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay. Bye.